Hi, my name is Harjit Hothi. I'm in the OPSWAT Critical Infrastructure Protection Lab in Vietnam. I'm going to describe how a platform-based approach can protect this critical infrastructure against the most advanced cyber attacks. This lab is based on a reference architecture, such as the Purdue model or IEC 62443. To my left, I have my OT network, the middle is the air gap, and on the right-hand side, I've got my IT infrastructure. So let's start on the critical network, OT. On the OT side, I've got some PLCs, I've got my HMI, I've got my engineering workstation, and I've got other key applications such as historians. Some of the challenges on this infrastructure is we've got different applications from different vendors, we've got different protocols used by these applications, and the key thing is the systems have to be up and running, so availability is key. A lot of the tools that are used by IT security do not work in this environment. So to get that accurate security posture, we need to have an inventory of the devices on this network, including all these industrial devices. And that's what the OPSWAT Neuralizer does at the top. It also alerts when new devices are added and provides that key vulnerability information of country of origin on this equipment, as it's so key to operations. Since there is an air gap between OT and IT, we need a secure way to access the devices on this network. And that's what the Meta Access OT does. It provides that access control of who and what can access OT infrastructure. We also need to control access at a very fine granular level to this equipment, the PLCs and the HMIs. Whether we can read, write to these devices, and at that granular level includes things like registers, and that's achieved by the OT Fuse Firewall IDS system. And lastly, we have a repository, Meta Defender Vault, which has scanned files by these 30+ malware engines, and it's sanitized by the deep CDR. Let's go to our air gap now. So historically, these two networks have been disconnected. So how do you transfer the files between these two infrastructures? So the old way was SneakerNet, where we take removable media, such as USB sticks, but this doesn't scale, and it's a manually intensive process. So how can we ensure these files are clean and malware-free? So the Meta Defender kiosk allows you to transfer these files manually, but they've been scanned by these 30+ AV engines and also sanitized by deep CDR to block those zero-day attacks. The second method is to create an air gap, which ensures data can only pass in one direction. And this is achieved by the NetWall. You can either do this by the unidirectional gateway or with the hardware enforcement using the network data diode with the optical separation. This allows data to go from OT to IT, but critically it protects that key OT infrastructure. If you use the optical diode, it's actually physically impossible to go from this side back to the OT side. The other major use case is a lot of equipment manufacturers and the actual end customers want to get the information from these OT devices to the cloud. And using the NetWall with the optical diode ensures you're protecting that key OT infrastructure. Let's go to IT now. Email is still the most common attack vector. So the OPSWAT email gateway protects against these attacks by using those 30+ AV engines and deep CDI by removing the active content from over 130 different file types. There are also other channels in IT that allows files into this network. The Meta Defender ICAP can integrate with devices such as WAFs, proxies and firewalls to ensure as files come into in and out of these devices, they're analyzed. These methods are preventing file-based attacks in transit. So what happens once the file is at rest and it's been stored? If you use AWS S3 buckets, OneDrive, or any other object storage, then we can use the Meta Defender secure storage to analyze and store the files on malware-free. Just to summarize, this platform-based approach from OPSWAT ensures we can provide you the most critical infrastructure protection across your complex infrastructure and networks. If you have any further questions, then contact me at opswat.com.